Gentlemen, distinguished guests, welcome back. We are continuing with our official program. Our second panel concerning the Western Balkans will be moderated by Mr. Edward P. Joseph, Senior Fellow, Foreign Policy Institute, Johns Hopkins University, School of Advanced International Studies. Welcome. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mila. It's really a pleasure to be here. Let me get the mic here in front. Great to see everyone here. And as we are in Croatia, s obzirom da što smo mi u Hrvatskoj, ako dozvolite mi par rečenica na hrvatskom, zaista meni drago što sam opet u Dubrovniku, jedinstveni grad i poznati ne samo za svoju lepotu, nego za svoju borbu za slobodu. Kako se kaže ovdje, libertas, kako se kaže u Dubrovniku. I čast mi je što vodim ovaj panel sa uglednim dužnosnicima. Thank you so much, Foreign Minister Grlić Radman, for this invitation. And I'm looking very much forward to this panel with, as I said, these esteemed panelists and officials here with us. So the subject is actually not just the EU path. The subject here, and it's important, is the Euro-Atlantic path of these countries. And that means NATO. And that means we can also be talking about NATO and the role of NATO in this discussion. And I want to again say that we've got, as we follow the previous panel, this panel will be focusing on three other of the WB6. Three is meant to be. So we have Kosovo, Serbia, and we were meant to have Montenegro here, but unfortunately we don't have Foreign Minister Ibrahimovic. But fortunately, I met him just recently, last week in Montenegro. I met also other minister, Filip Ivanovic. And so between MEP Picula and I, we will hopefully supply some important information about Montenegro and its very significant leading position as the candidate to join the European Union. And now I'll begin here. We're going to begin with our country ministers. Here we have foreign ministers and from Serbia, State Secretary. And I'll mention everyone's name as we proceed in order of alphabetical by country name. And that means Foreign Minister Grlić Radman, mi počnemo sa vas. And I'm going to ask you, this is my question for you.
Thanks so much, Joseph. And
I just wanted to, ako svim postaviti pitanje. I just wanted to ask you, because Prime Minister Plenković spoke this morning, and I thought it was striking that he noted how difficult it was for Croatia to get into the EU. He said it's easy to think so many years later, but he emphasized how difficult it was, how many actors were involved. So my question for you is, can you tell us more about the role that Croatia plays as a member of NATO and the EU, but particularly in this case the EU, in helping your neighbors advance towards the European Union? Please.
Thank you so much. And as I mentioned also at the first panel, and we had because of there are so many actors and the participants, and for the first time we divided the Western Balkans panel in two parts. We split it in two. Probably we will manage next year to do something better, to reshape and probably the panel and to be it all together. I think it's much better, so that everyone could be who take part, and of course because of an exchange. Otherwise, we lose just this connectivity with others. Yes, when it comes Croatia, so going back in the history, and Croatia was a part of former Yugoslavia, and Croatia, after the Homeland War, after the recognition, so our foreign policy goals were the membership in NATO and EU, and 2009 we became the full member of NATO, and 4 years later, member of EU. But during this negotiation process, with really work hard in fulfilling their not only criteria but also their imposed the new generation of benchmarks. And I was witness, and I was a part of the negotiations, and member of even two working groups, and it was the 15th chapter energy and 31st chapter foreign policy. Working hard probably is during this process not easy way how you are, because sometimes you are discouraged, or because it's not easy to fulfill rule of law. It was really a very demanding issue, 24th and chapters. But however, on the end of the day, we were very satisfied, and we realized that having in mind what we did, and in the interest of Croatian citizens, and we reformed our institutions, and just to say that a hard work does pay off. And now, when Croatia is entered the Schengen zone as of January 2023, and we introduced euro as Croatian national currency. So Croatia in this regard is very relaxed. So Croatia doesn't need anything. So what remains? Okay, yesterday we heard the Secretary General of OECD praised that Croatia is doing very well on the way to being the member of OECD. But for us it's very important, and the stability and functionality of the Western Balkans. Of the countries, we share that common history. For us is the stability, national interest, secure, safe Western Balkans. Of course, but it's not only up to Croatia. Of course, we want to see the direction for our neighbors. That means the promotion of the regional stability is also something very important that all the candidate countries should do in order just to fulfill the European values, and of course to promote also good neighborly relations. We live together, so it's our destiny, geopolitical position, so that everything what we do, it's in the interest of our citizens, and it's up to us, diplomacy, politicians, just to do more in this regard. And as a host, of course, I am very pleased, and it's my homework to show everything that so my guests do feel comfortable, and that although I know there are sometimes the tough topics we should discuss on, but however we as a diplomats we smoothly could find the way how we can just to say what we want to say, but so on the way. Croatia is ready to end. We are. For when it comes just in Montenegro, we as our neighbor, we from the very beginning, from since day one, we supported the European perspective of Montenegro during the Croatian EU presidency. I do remember 2020 during the pandemic. However, we succeeded to on 30th of June to open the last chapter. It was 8 competitiveness, and also during the last year we closed 3 chapters. There is some improvement in our relations, and just with Minister Ibrahimovic, we signed an agreement on the return of the premises to Croatian minority living in Montenegro, in Boka Kotorska. It was historically a part of Dalmatia, but however, in 1945 became the part of Montenegro, and the Croatian minority is there in this house in Donja Lastva. Although it was the ownership of Croats, because they built this house. However, we appreciate very much this gesture, that so they gave this house to the Croatian government, and then so we, vice versa, of course, we decided on to get it to Croatian National Council there. Another also they're proposed, or they're on the way to sign a new document. It's the compensation of war, of compensation of inmates in camps, in Camp Morin, and so we are on the way just to sign very soon. When it comes to Serbia, I am very pleased that so he is also a secretary, and with Serbia, you know, we have another history what we have. Now we want to solve their all open issues which are not only bilateral nature. First of all, the missing person, there are 1,748. It's universal. And we had we established two commissions, and led by state secretaries from both sides. I recently also visited Belgrade, informally visited Croatian community, and had a good talks with Minister Marko Đurić, whom I met also 2 days ago in Rome. When it comes to Bosnia and Herzegovina, you know our position very well. Is the country we are bordering the longest border we share. The Bosnia and Herzegovina is not only historically important for Croatia, but also because of Croatians there who are not minority, as some you can see somewhere. It's a constituent people. And the functionality of Bosnia and Herzegovina is possible only if the three constituent peoples and others have the same rights, and they equally treated. Just needs a Dayton Agreement. And Croatia is vocal proponent of the EU perspective of Bosnia and Herzegovina. To Albania, North Macedonia, it's of course. We want, and we eagerly want to just to see also that there are prosperity in the European Union. And in Kosovo at least, but not the least. However, it's very important that so the Kosovo also here, Croatian position is very clear for the very beginning. We were among all the countries, and some countries who recognize the independence of Kosovo, and we want Kosovo to see also as a member of international organization, and we assisted also among the European Union just to able also Kosovo citizens to visa-free regime and to enter the European Union, and we will be also so vocal proponent of Kosovo integration in such an international organization, and first of all Council of Europe. So in a nutshell, our position.
Very well. And if you'll permit me one follow-up, Foreign Minister, because it'll be a good segue, then we'll come to Donika, the Foreign Minister and Deputy Prime Minister of Kosovo. But this will be a good segue, because I want to ask you about this joint security declaration that Croatia has with Albania and Kosovo. And by the way, we discussed this at SAIS recently. We had your ambassador and ambassadors of Kosovo and Albania there. And I should mention, Ambassador Croatia just attended 2 days ago. I had the honor to host President Osmani, President of the Republic of Kosovo. But anything you want to say about this joint security declaration with
It's Albania and Croatia. We are members of NATO, and we share on a common values when it comes to our obligations and commitment to NATO, and we would like also to share it also with Kosovo and also with other countries in the region. And if the countries want to be in a part of, is something that is positively creating a cooperation, and I don't see that it could be something that the questionable.
Yes.
It's something that it's an improvement when it comes to cooperation. So, and our declaration and our approach is open also to other countries in the region as well.
Very well. And that brings me to Kosovo. And Donika Gavela-Schwartz, Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of the Republic of Kosovo. Very nice to see you again, Donika. And so, okay, when we talk about Kosovo's Euro-Atlantic path, we immediately come to an obstacle that only Kosovo has, and none of the other WB6 have this obstacle, because you have 4 non-recognizers in NATO and 5 in the EU. So this is a permanent obstacle. There's, in addition, there's the role of the EU-led dialogue, and there's the hope that progress there will turn the key and open Kosovo's Euro-Atlantic path. So I'd ask you, Donika, to address that fundamental obstacle, and what is Kosovo's strategy to pursue its Euro-Atlantic aspirations, please.
So thank you very much, Edward. You are not new in this area, so I'm sure that you are very firm in the details. But let me first thank Gordon for again organizing an extraordinary forum in Dubrovnik that gives a good platform and a good chance to talk in deep, to talk friendly, but frank as well, among friends and partners, about the real issues, not only in the Western Balkans and in the Balkans, but in Europe and in the world. Because since the first time I came here in 2021, the world has changed a lot. That time we were discussing about COVID and the consequences for our countries, our people, and the perspectives. And now we have, since 3 years, a Russian war against Ukraine. We have a total change of how we talk and how we see security in our countries and in our continent. And that's why I really thank you for being again a great host and giving us the chance to exchange.
There were 3 panels in 2021 and now 17.
Yes. So if the title of this panel is Trust, Transparency and Transformation. And when we talk about trust and we talk about the obstacles that Kosovo has in their own Euro-Atlantic path, then we should talk about trust as well. And trust is to tell truth among friends, among potential partners, and among allies. And trust is in naming the reasons for these issues and these problems that Kosovo has in the Euro-Atlantic path. Let me tell you that I just came yesterday night from Srebrenica. I was there together with Prime Minister Albin Kurti, and we have been there in respect for the victims, the survivors, the families, and the Bosniak people of Bosnia-Herzegovina, because what happened in Srebrenica 30 years ago is an example of what we as civilized world should never tolerate and never let happen again. Ukraine has shown us that we have not learned enough lessons from the wars in the Balkans, and that's why I want to spend some sentences on truth. In Srebrenica, we had yesterday a ceremony that lasted 3 hours. And what I missed and what didn't happen during this event, this ceremony in a very singular place like Srebrenica, was that nearly none of the dozens of speakers did mention the perpetrators of the genocide in Srebrenica. Only 2 did. Your Prime Minister Plenković and President Bećirović of Bosnia and Herzegovina. So, and parallel to that, let me tell you that I was in Auschwitz, where we commemorated the 80th anniversary of the end of Auschwitz some months ago. And of course, there was mentioning of perpetrators as well. And not only that, but Germany organizes every year in the German parliament every year a commemorating session, a special session in the German parliament to not forget Auschwitz and not forget the own responsibility about Auschwitz. So, these are maybe old stories, but I would not talk about that if they would not define our reality of today and not the reality of 30 years ago in Kosovo and in the Balkans at all. And when I talk about trust, then I'm sure that talking trust and truth are very important for us in this Euro-Atlantic process as well. Let me be very frank. While we in the Western Balkans are well advised to continue with our reforms so that we will be capable, able to join the European Union, more and more we need to ask our partners in the European Union if they are capable, able, and ready to take us, the countries of the Western Balkans, in the European Union, and especially those countries who have no doubt that their future is in European Union and NATO. And I believe that then we come to a problem that nobody, beside that we are facing new discussions about EU enlargement and about how important it is to have the Balkans as part of the European Union. And thank you, Gordon, for Croatia's incredible role in European Union and in showing that Balkans is compatible with European Union, not only values and structures, but for the perspectives as well. So my feeling is, and from what I have spoken with a lot of colleagues coming from European Union member states, that yes, the desire is there, the understanding that it's important to have the Western Balkans in the European Union as well, but without reforming the European Union, there will be no real perspective of membership for the Western Balkan countries. And this is, I'm convinced, because of dozens of conversations and discussions that I have had with representatives of the member states. So what is the alternative for countries like the Republic of Kosovo, where more than 90% of the people do support the membership in EU and NATO? We do not have any alternatives. We need to continue working on the membership, but more and more it becomes clear that for our country, membership in NATO will come sooner and will be more important at a point than waiting for EU reforms or waiting for the important steps that EU needs to make. And I'm happy that, different than 3 or 4 years ago, more and more member states in the European Union has understood that it's important to focus in security in times when you have a war in your own continent. It's important to understand that the war in Ukraine is not only a war against Ukraine, that this is a war against Europe and that Europe needs to prepare to defend itself. For me, and I have spent it more than 30 years in Germany, it's strange to hear German politicians that have started, and it's good that they have started. It's correct, it's important to talk about being able to defend Germany against Russian aggression, and not to exclude that 2029 maybe Germany will face an attack from Russia. So it's important not just to talk about the nice things, but to prepare for times that if we do not take the necessary steps, we will be faced with.
Thank you, Foreign Minister. And we're going to continue and go, and we'll see, hopefully we'll have time for another round. But if I could ask you, because you emphasize, and I appreciate this, you emphasize repeatedly that we should be frank and open and talk about truth. So and I asked this, by the way, same question to President Osmani 2 days ago in Washington. So, you have the situation where your government has been criticized by countries that are very friendly, including the United States, and a previous ambassador there was very friendly to Kosovo about, quote, uncoordinated actions. And I'll take your answer on that. But in addition to whatever the legalities and formalities, and this extends to questions that have been raised, for example, about expropriations, about arrests, the dynamic, the perception is that this is uncoordinated and that it's done without due regard for citizens of Kosovo who are Serb, Kosovo Serb citizens of Kosovo. So I want to ask you and invite you, take this opportunity to give your answer.
Never in the last 20 years, the Serbs in Kosovo has not been in the position to decide themselves about their future in order not to let others from outside to decide about them. So once we have defeated criminal terrorist structures in our country, it's now time for a deeper dialogue with our citizens, with the Serbs in Kosovo, because we are their government as well, and not only for Albanians or Bosniaks or Turks or others. So that is why rule of law has no alternative in our country. In November 2021, only 40% of our citizens answered by a survey of IRI that they live in a country of rule of law. And 2023 in November, there were 81% answering that question with yes. And that has changed in the northern part of our country, in the northern municipalities as well. Now we need to prepare well for the next elections, local elections, because we have local elections in October. And there is a chance for the Serbian citizens in these 4 municipalities to elect their representatives free of fear, pressure, and terror. We hope that they will take this opportunity to be better represented, to vote for people who will take care not about Belgrade so much, but about the needs of the people there. And I invite everyone sitting in the room and elsewhere, come, take the time, come and visit these people. Talk not only to those who are loud in media, but talk to ordinary people and try to understand how the reality for the Serbs in Kosovo in the northern municipalities has changed. We have no understanding for anyone in Kosovo, and if it is a Serb, an Albanian, or something else who committed crimes and who is part of organized crime, our institutions will arrest everybody that does not respect the laws of the country. So this is not different than in Croatia, not different than in the United States or in other European countries. We are very strong in our commitment to fight organized crime and to create a climate of understanding, but rule of law and democracy in our country, and there is no chance for compromises with crime. And we see now, 4 years later, that this has have incredible impact on the life of ordinary people in Kosovo. I'm aware of the fact that propaganda is louder than the voices of ordinary people, but I'm not going to lose my hope that those who are interested in the region will take the chance to go and to talk to the ordinary people as well and to give them a voice. I'm not totally satisfied with the results because we have a lot of work in front of us to make the reality of our Serbian citizens better, to make their education, their healthcare system, their everyday life even better. But this cannot change, this cannot go back anymore. These people are no more victims of daily terror, of organized crime, and people who have been threatening them and who have been punishing everyone who has shown the will to integrate in the Kosovar society.
Thank you, Foreign Minister. And I appreciate very much that you noted the emphasis on rule of law, on that the need for dialogue, and opening a new chapter in dialogue, and that you noted that there is work to do. So with that, we have dialogue here thanks to the Dubrovnik Forum. And I'll turn now to State Secretary Nevena Jovanovic, Ambassador Nevena Jovanovic, and give you the floor. And Nevena, obviously you're Ambassador, Madam Ambassador. You're welcome, of course, to respond and comment on the situation in Kosovo with your neighbor. And I want to ask you, with respect to the overarching theme, European Union and your EU path, if you'll allow me to put it this way, Serbia's path to the EU, which negotiations opened back in 2014, has not exactly been a Formula One speed. Okay, it's not exactly been Formula One. And so, and we've seen in comments from Brussels that the pace has been extraordinarily slow. New chapters, it's been a long time since chapters were opened, and finally there was a reprieve. So I want to ask you about that, because the Serbian government professes and insists that EU membership is this strong goal. We have the post-Ukraine opening. Then will we see in Belgrade the actions that will follow the words of interest in European Union membership? Please.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. At the very beginning, let me thank to our host, to Foreign Minister Mr. Grlić Radman, for hosting us here today, and we firmly believe that in this very complex geopolitical context, these kind of exchanges are really valuable. Not all the topics are always easy to be discussed, but we are always ready to be a constructive part and always ready to engage in a dialogue on the matters of our mutual concern. Having in mind that the title of this panel is Euro-Atlantic Future of the Western Balkan, I thank you for your question, and let me reiterate once again that EU membership is one of the main foreign policy priorities for the Republic of Serbia, and it is our strategic commitment. It goes without saying that our position is that the place for the whole Western Balkan region lies in the European Union, and we as a government and as a state are doing our best in implementing all the necessary reforms in the order to speed up the process of European integration, which is not an easy process. It is very complex for us. We became a candidate country back in 2012. We opened negotiation back in 2014. In the meantime, we have been implemented some of the main and very important reforms, especially in the field of rule of law, especially in the field of improving the overall economic position of our country, strengthening our institutions. But of course, it's a long process with a lot of challenges that we are witnessing. Having in mind that another part of the title is Euro-Atlantic integration, let me also use this opportunity to say that for us, cooperation with NATO, it is very important. Although we are a military neutral country, we have high interest to keep dialogue with the alliance on very high level. We had very good political dialogue on the highest level. Even President Vučić had some very constructive meetings with Secretary General Rutte, and of course we are implementing this cooperation through Partnership for Peace, which is also for us very important. We also highly appreciate everything that has been done and all the work carried out by KFOR in the territory of Kosovo and Metohija so far. And at the end of the day, we are the country that is surrounded by NATO countries. As a country that I think only Germany has more neighbors than Serbia in whole Europe. We have 8 neighbors. For us, it's very important that with each and every of these countries we improve our relations, of course, in the spirit of good neighborly relations, in the spirit of open discussion of all the issues of our mutual concern, in order to close finally some of the dark chapters of our joint history, and all that in order to create our joint future in the European Union. You said that European integration process of Serbia, it's not Formula One. I can agree on that, but I think that's something that can be translated to the entire region. But maybe all of us in this room should ask ourselves why after so many years we have this part of the world outside of the European Union, especially having in mind that these are the processes that started almost 2 decades ago. And we should also ask ourselves what from both sides we can do, from the side of the region, but also from the perspective of Brussels. You know, it's not always easy to keep alive discussion about EU accession when you don't have something concrete to give to your citizens. The last time when the Serbia was awarded for the reform processes was, I think, back to the end of 2021. So basically, we have not seen any concrete improvement on that path. So sometimes it's very hard to keep discussion alive when you don't feel that this is awarded like you deserve. It's not a secret that one of the main critics coming from the EU currently to the European integration process of Serbia are related to the joining of the common foreign and security policy. I mean, our positions on that are very familiar. I will not use the time of this panel to further elaborate already familiar positions, but also I have to underline that despite to that, we are very devoted to keep this process alive. We have been implementing some of the important reforms. Even recently, we have adopted so necessary adoption of the media laws, which is one of the main elements for the rule of law component of the negotiations. So basically, we are trying to move forward. And please do not forget that parallel with this of the reforms, we have also been trying to protect our vital state and national interests. We are trying to protect the territorial integrity and sovereignty of the Republic of Serbia, which is also something that is a very demanding process and also sometimes closely related with the improvement in the process of European integration. I will not use this gathering to speak broadly about the current situation in the Kosovo and Metohija and the position of the Serbian population living in that part of the territory, but just I have to say that reactions coming from international communities when we witness the cases of ethnical incidents, when we witness some unilateral attempts, are very valuable for us and give us support and hope that there is understanding that we are trying to be constructive part of this dialogue, and we are always ready to discuss and to make some additional steps which will lead us to some sustainable solutions. But we have to admit that for every dialogue you need two sides, and we still in 2025 are witnessing the attempts of ethnical incidents. We had more than 80 ethnical incidents since beginning of this year, and I know for the most of the audience this is only a number, but for the Serbs living there, this is reality. And despite all of that, we are trying to be a constructive side, and we will always continue to do so. For us as a country, the most important thing is to keep regional cooperation on very high level. This is for us top priority, to keep communication and open conversation with all of our neighboring countries and all our partners from the region. Especially, we are trying to improve our economic ties, because we witnessed that opening economic cooperation among the partners in the region sometimes can relax some very difficult political context and open the door for some difficult issues to be solved in a way that connects closer people, citizens, and countries among themselves.
Thank you.
I thank you.
Thank you so much. And if you'll permit me, as I did just before, I have a follow-up for you, Ambassador Jovanovic. So you mentioned that some of these incidents, and you mentioned that the U.S., EU, and others have criticized Kosovo. I just would point out here that also there's been criticism of Serbia after this very serious Banska incident, and the fact that the most named conspirator, who was apparently filmed in video, we don't need to mention his name, but everyone knows his name, walks freely and is not arrested, and that this has been a source of criticism of Serbia from the international community. Then you mentioned common foreign security policy. I understand that everyone knows that position, but let me ask you, as State Secretary, is that position viable at a time when we see every day Russia is pummeling Ukraine with absolute impunity? Is really two chairs and balancing, and we're not going to put on sanctions? Is that whatever you support provided to Ukraine, and which I'm sure Ukraine very much appreciates, but regardless of that, is it appropriate for an EU aspirant, which is a voluntary decision of Serbia, to really remain in this balance, two chairs? And then with your EU path, if you'll permit me, I just want to quickly read a quote here from Marta Kos. This was in May, so if something has changed since then, but as I did with with the Foreign Minister of Kosovo. I want to give you an opportunity to respond here. But this is what she said in May. This was before the European Parliament. I am, quote, this is the EU Commissioner for Enlargement, okay, so the #1 EU official on this region for their EU prospects. And she says, I am not satisfied with what I see in Serbia. The new Prime Minister and the Speaker of the National Assembly both assured me that reforms would be implemented swiftly. The same promises were made by the Serbian President to the President of the European Commission, President of the European Council at the end of May, yet nothing has happened. So she said that, and then I just want to quickly, because it's very relevant to your country and to the region, she commented on this is in Nin, by the way, this report comes from Nin. Commenting on the ongoing protests, Kos emphasized, Marta Kos, that the demonstrators' demands align with those of the European Union. Quote, protesters are calling for the rule of law, media freedom, judicial independence, and fight against corruption and transparency. These are all values of the European Union. So those are my questions. I know they're not easy, but this is a great opportunity to address that. Please.
I thank you, and I'll try to answer you briefly, having in mind that I'm sure that our host didn't want to this panel to be transferred into framework of Belgrade-Pristina dialogue, but I will try to answer you concretely and briefly. Regarding the tragical events in Banjska that you mentioned, let's be totally clear and frank when we speak about this and try to see a broader context of those events, and let's try to think about it, what provoked them. And those tragical events were just reaction of the local Serbian communities to years of repression and the violence of their basic rights that they were witnessed. I will just remind you that just after the tragic events took place, our government, our highest political leaders condemned what happened and accept the fact that one Albanian citizen and police officer lost his life. Also 3 members of the Serbian community lost their lives, which we consider as a very tragical in overall. We condemn that. And I also have to say that some others use that for further politicization of the situation and further de-escalation. We are pretty much aware that there are high expectations coming from international partners regarding the bringing those responsible to justice and our participation in that. But I just have to tell you that from the very beginning we were ready to cooperate in the sense of sharing information with all the relevant partners with regard to this case. And I also have to underline that this is what is in charge of the judicial institutions, which are independent in their work. Your second question regarding the statement given by Commissioner Marta Kos was given maybe prior we again moved forward in the process of EU integration, especially when it comes to adoption of the change of the media laws, which is something that was one of the main questions for the European Commission and member states. We are also trying to make some further improvements when it comes to other important issues. Meanwhile, we joined the CIPA. We are trying to implement our economic reforms with the aim to become a part of the single European market. We are trying. We are doing our best. You mentioned the protests that are taking place in Serbia for 8.5 months now. This is something that is very challenging for us. This is a crisis with which our society and the country is witnessing. But I have also to remind you how everything started. We had a tragedy that took place at the beginning of November. Then we had the protests. as a reaction to that, but then some of the political figures in Serbia from the oppositional parties use that tragical events for further politicization and creating additional divisions in our society, which resulted in those protests that you are referring to. In Serbia, we are firmly and strictly in favor of freedom of assembly, freedom of expression, and the only thing that we cannot accept is violence and violent protest. And I don't have to explain to all of you what would happen in any of European countries if any of these countries would witness such a scape of protests for more than 8 months, and our police didn't make any single act of violence during this all this period of time. So we are acting responsibly. We are aiming to find solution for this crisis. But if you ask me, and this is our official position, there can be only political solution for this crisis. So for this, what is happening in Serbia, there can be only political solutions, which include dialogue, open discussions among the relevant actors in the society, and certainly not the violent acts and some kind of revolutions, etc., etc.
Understand, and thank you, Ambassador Jovanovic. And I know you agree that the through line, as we say, we use that term, the common denominator here is accountability. So when we talk about these topics, Banska or protests, and that everyone should be held accountable. And obviously there were incidents on Vidovdan on 28 June, and apparently serious incident, and I know you're aware of all of that. And no, we don't want this to just be Kosovo and Serbia. We were meant to have Foreign Minister Ibrahimovic from Montenegro. So, and Montenegro is the leader. They are Formula One. They have jumped into that cockpit and of the vehicle and are driving forward. It's not without its own speed bumps, but they're moving forward. So we don't have Foreign Minister Ibrahimovic, but we do have Tonino Picula, former Croatian foreign minister and current member of European Parliament, and current European Parliament rapporteur for Serbia and former rapporteur for Montenegro, your neighbor here. So maybe between MEP Picula and I, we might supply some of the points of progress and challenges there in Montenegro. But please, Tonino, you have the floor. I'm gonna just give you the floor openly because you're rapporteur and you just heard from the State Secretary. Please.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for asking me about Montenegro. Of course, it's important to talk about the country nearby, the Dubrovnik, in a way. And I would like, before I answer straight to you, to remind everybody that Dubrovnik once was a state republic. And important to say that Dubrovnik mastered realpolitik centuries ago, surrounded by pretty mighty powers around itself, but keeping very effectively its sovereignty, of course promoting certain values and of course successfully trade with the whole of the world. So when we talk about politics here in Dubrovnik, we need to be absolutely aware where we are located ourselves in a way. It's of course another famous saying attributed to the Dubrovnik people, which says that in politics, friendship is pretty fragile, but interests are pretty longevity in a way. So we need to think about not only friendship, but interests. And when we talk about enlargement policy, particularly in Montenegro, of course we can talk about it, we need to find out what European Union will be benefited from next coming countries, and what is of course interest of the candidate countries to become a member of the Union in a way. It sounds plausible, but from time to time we need to ask that questions, of course. When you ask about Montenegro, and Montenegro is a long-term front-runner in negotiation politics, I would say that it's not competition with the others. It's competition with yourself, within. Because you need to overcome hurdles, you need to overcome a number of tough reforms in order to advance your path and to speed up, if possible, to reach your final goal. And I'm very glad that Montenegro is very ambitious. It was 10 years ago, it was 5 years ago. It's an ambitious country right now. And it sounds also very ambitious when officials from Montenegro declare that they are ready to close 7 chapters before the end of this year and close whole negotiation process before the end of the next year, 2026. And of course, but they need to match their ambitions with their capability to do so. Of course, it goes without saying that Montenegro citizens, they are pro-European. I've followed them for years, and it's always, correct me Ranko if I'm wrong, it's between 75 or 80% of the adult population who backed final goal and be a member of the European Union. But as I said, it's a problems within the country, in a way, especially during the last 5 years, since a major change of the guard leading Montenegro after the elections which took place August 30, 2020. And it's been tough 4 years for the country because internal problems and the changing of the governments, in a way, slow down Montenegrin progress. But nevertheless, Montenegro is still front-runner, and it's good to know that despite all problems Montenegro faced on its way to be a member of the European Union, others still didn't catch Montenegro. It tells something about enlargement of itself. In the 5 years since important Montenegrin elections 2020, now during the last 6 months or 1 year, we saw very significant progress done by Albania, in a way. But it's accomplished with another political phenomena, and I would like to underline here. We saw finally decoupling Albania from the Northern Macedonia.
Yes.
And of course, I praise progress done in Tirana, absolutely, it goes without saying. But I'm very sorry because North Macedonia is in stalemate. And in this moment, I'm not over-optimistic that we can see breakthrough any months, or I don't want to say years ahead of us. Of course, what I'm afraid of, that we might see in the future not decoupling, by decoupling. Montenegro must be absolutely cautious to prevent any foreign malign influence within the country, which may stop additionally their progress towards membership, because it will be betrayal of expectation of its own citizens, and chances Montenegro got to do it before the end of the mandate of this parliament and this commission. So it's up to them, first of all, to take care of what they need to do in the country, of course, to fulfill the standards and criterion, but also they need to preserve their position and push back every malign foreign interference which would like to channel Montenegro in a direction, of course, which will be for the country absolutely disastrous.
Very well. Did you want to say anything on Serbia? You don't have to, but because that was very helpful.
Of course, I'm very free because Serbia is an important country, single most important country in the Western Balkans, and I'm not absolutely sure that it's every move done in Belgrade is designed to benefit not only Montenegro but Bosnia and Herzegovina path towards the Brussels. We'll see. Montenegro must show resilience, must kept its position of the front runner in that process, but it's up to them. Of course, Brussels, especially some institutions in Brussels, must not keep their blind eye what's going on the Western Balkans, in a way. And my question is, how Western Balkans it still is. That's the problem, because there is a number of the players on the Western Balkans beside Brussels in this moment, and it would be absolutely unacceptable to create a gap which might be fulfilled by the interest of some external powers on the Western Balkans in this sense. So I've been heard many years ago one expression coined by experts, and they tell me that we are witnessing Westernness, less and less Westernness less, in a way. So for us it's a chance to bring back authority of the European Union and to brought on the table real perspective for the Western Balkans candidate countries, because we are now living in the period the longest in the history between two enlargements, and that's the problem. Yes. I remember 25 years I was in Thessaloniki, yes, and European Union made a promise to Western Balkans country that one day they will become members of the club, and a year after 10 new member states entered the European Union. We talk about Big Bang enlargement. And it's interesting, 25 years after that, there's still 10 candidate countries in the waiting room for the European Union. Now it's open question when waiting room will be emptied, or when they will start to empty. So Montenegro got a chance to be first to cross the line, but I will not underestimate capacity of the Albania to catch up and to couple with Montenegro in their fulfillment of the final goal.
Very well. And Tonino, your remarks prompt me about capacity in Montenegro to achieve that ambitious goal, and they say 28 by 28. That's their motto. That's their theme that Ervin would have said, or Filip, either of those deputy prime ministers would have said that here. 28 be the 28th member by 2028. That's their ambitious goal. And I just want to emphasize here, as we have Foreign Minister Grlić Radman, that Croatia is playing an important role in that capacity. My understanding is that Croatia has provided experts to Montenegro who are there actually in place, assisting and helping them develop that capacity. That's number one. So I'm told they're from Podgorica. And then you were absolutely right about this decoupling. It's helped Albania, but it's hurt, in some ways, it's made things much more difficult for Macedonia, and Foreign Minister Mucunski was absolutely correct in what he said about how unfair this is, and it's what, written an article in Slice Review about this. This is identity aggression. It's identity aggression, and he was correct in saying it's similar to what Russia does with Ukraine. And so it's really in Brussels somewhere, or in European Union capitals, to try to advance that there. And maybe when we do our final round here, we'll hear from State Secretary about Serbia's viewpoint on its neighbors' EU path, including Montenegro, which, if it would join, would be a great sign for the rest of the region. Let me turn now to Secretary General Amir Kapetanovic, who's been waiting patiently there, Secretary General of the Regional Cooperation Council, based in Sarajevo. And tell us, you have the floor. Is there cooperation? Do we see good cooperation?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. You know, I've been touring the region recently since I took over January 1st, and I met all the leadership in the region, and I haven't heard a single word against the regional cooperation. I mean, really, there is a healthy appetite for that. It is very interesting, you know, to listen to the conversation, and usually, I mean, probably there are people in this room who do not understand what we do. Just to simplify that, we have been established by the governments to help them killing the narcissism of small differences in the region. And this is what we are trying to do, to put as many commonalities as we can on the path to help the region moving towards the EU membership. More practically, what we've been doing since 2017, 8 years now since the Trieste summit of Berlin process, we are doing this general rehearsal of the entire Western Balkans' readiness to join the EU. The name of the game there is to establish the common regional market, which is a replica of the EU single market. So we are changing the drivers of the game so that we are trying to introduce the EU standards in the Western Balkans before the Western Balkans joins the EU. I think that's very important because we wasted so much time. Someone mentioned that 25 years we are in the process of the enlargement. So actually some drivers has to be recalibrated, and this is particularly what we've been doing in the last 8 years. And of course, additionally, what is very important there, you know, Western Balkan is a market of 18 million people. If we cannot be competitive in the market of 18 million people, then how on earth we can be competitive in a market of 350 million people or other markets? So this is what we are trying to do and achieve through this, I would call it, stress test of the region to become part of the EU. We have achieved certain results along the way, and that's very important to mention. But we also face some problems and challenges that I would like to say a few words about. So what are the results? When we started the process 10 years ago, GDP ratio of the Western Balkans in comparison with the EU was 25%. Today it is 38%. Let us not fool ourselves with the percentage of growth of 2 to 3% annually. We cannot catch the EU in the next 60 years. But if we add to our economic growth up to 10% or 8%, we can do that probably by 2030. Those front runners can be, as Croatia was at the moment they joined the EU, at the 50% of the EU GDP average. And that's the name of the game. This is what we are trying to do. So we are not economic determinists, but we are trying actually to find a common ground in order to deliver to the ordinary people something they've been waiting for ages, because at the end of the day, if you go and ask them, they want the living standards of the EU. Yes. They want to move freely. This is what they want. So also investments increased, internal trade and external trade in the Western Balkans increased, and there are numbers and statistics to support it. The region is about to join system of payment system of the EU, roaming zone of the EU, and so on and so forth. Problems. Slow pace of the execution of the implementation due to political hurdles, due to open bilateral issues. Someone mentioned identity issues. Yes, I can agree with that. And at the end of the day, what all does this mean in the context of our panel, actually, in the context of trust, in the context of transparency, and of course, transformation? First, trust. In the last Balkan Barometer survey from last year, 82% of people in region trust in regional cooperation. 50 to 70% to EU and NATO. But less than 50 in the democratic institutions of their own society. To turn to 82%. This is a capital that we accumulated thanks to support of these governments, whose representatives are sitting today here at both panels. They were supporting us together with the EU to kill the narcissism of small differences and to move the progress forward. And therefore people saw that we are capable together to walk the talk. Not only talking, not only having brilliant plans, but to execute those plans. And this is actually approval rate that is a serious political capital that you can either squander or, based on that, continue moving forward in the strategic communication EU. Transparency, we have all society approach. I will finish. I know that we are running out of time. And using the convening power to implement strategic agendas such as the Common Regional Market Growth Plan of the EU for the Western Balkans, and to include in all those activities civil society organizations, regional organizations, and of course the governments in the region. And transformation, it speaks by itself, you know. While doing this, we've been transforming the region, probably not to an extent that we all want, but if you look back, what it looked like 10 years ago and what it looks like now, there is a difference and there is a progress.
Thank you very much for that, Secretary General Kapetanovic. And we didn't even have time to get into EU growth plan, Berlin process, those very important initiatives. And as you correctly ascertained, I'm under severe time pressure here in signals. I know, and this is with the permission of our host here, Foreign Minister Grlić Radman, that we don't have Formula One in the United States, but we have drag racing. So drag racing is over like that. So you have, it's a 0 to 60 in just a second. So we're just going to go quickly here, please, Foreign Minister Gavrila Schwarz.
What really makes me not being angry but being sad is what we faced today. We faced a young generational representative smiling and using Milosevic language. There is no Kosovo i Metohija. If you say it with a smile or if you say it with a gun in your hand, it is an expression of the hegemonist politics of Serbia, not only towards Kosovo. We must face reality, Edward. We cannot continue just talking as if everything would be okay. If we talk about Banjska, we have just experienced the justification of what has happened. And in Banjska, we had no incident. We had a clear act of open aggression against a neighboring country, with 100 paramilitaries coming with weapons for additional 300 people, not with guns, not with Kalashnikovs, with anti-tank, anti-aircraft and very modern weapons, financed, organized, and sent by state of Serbia. We see how stubborn they are, beside the pressure from international community not to deliver Radojcic, because everybody knows Radojcic has been sent by the state of Serbia. We need to talk about these things. Otherwise, we will continue talking about integration and everybody will know that we are not serious. No Kosovo in Metohija. Please be skeptical about every person that talks in your eyes about Kosovo and Metohija, because this is poor hegemony. And one last thing, 80 ethnical incidents, not EU, not OSCE, not US, not member states of the European Union, no KFOR, no one says there were ethnical incidents. It's just always the strategy of Serbia, being a perpetrator and presenting themselves as victims. I have been yesterday in Srebrenica and I have seen these ugly pictures presenting again the perpetrators being the victims. Please, my call to Serbian society, please wake up and please free the region from being always a hostage of the wrong politics of your politicians. Nice smile, but ugly language, Milosevic language.
Understand, and we can't stop without giving an opportunity to Serbia. State Secretary Ivanovic.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I think that this kind of rhetoric clearly shows who is not constructive part of this dialogue. I can say it with smile, I can say it without it, but referring to Kosovo and Metohija, it's sticking to international law. And these days we have been speaking so much about the necessity of respecting international law, and Serbia is the country that witnessed on our self-skin how it is when the international law is broken. And that's why even today, in the context of the war in Ukraine, we are advocating for support of the integrity and sovereignty of Ukraine and each and every UN member state. So if someone is not pleased with Kosovo and Metohija wording, I feel so sorry, but it's totally in accordance with the international law, with accordance with Resolution UN 1244, which is still in force. So, as I said, I can say it with smile, I can say it without it, but the truth is the way it is. I thank you.
Thank you very much. And on that note, I just, again, extend my thanks to Foreign Minister Grlić Radman for organizing this 18 years in a row, the Dubrovnik Forum, and we can see the value of bringing officials here to come to Dubrovnik and to speak frankly. And I know we're under tremendous time pressure. So with that, I thank you all very much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to the panel participants. Ladies and gentlemen, we will continue with our next panel shortly in 5 minutes. See you soon. Thank you once again. Thank you for taking part.